Hello everyone, my name is Steve Nagel and welcome to the third episode of the Vega Chronicles. In this episode, I'll be talking to my son Josh about his perspective of his journey into the car culture, as well as my perspective of his journey into car culture. I'd like to take the time now and talk about my son Josh and how he became completely consumed by the car culture. I mean, at a very young age, I say around 12 or 13, he started becoming more the teacher and me the student, where he started schooling me on like the LS motors and how fast and the horsepower, anything and everything that had to do with cars. Up to that time, I knew small block Chevy. I knew stuff like that, some of the older cars and stuff, but I knew nothing about the newer technology and stuff like that. Then at age 16, he buys a 95 Camaro. Had to be manual, but he was so engrossed in this that he actually put an ad on, by himself, he put an ad on Craigslist to find these cars. He wanted a manual Camaro, 95, I guess the fourth generation Camaros. That's what he wanted. That's what he could afford. It happened 2 or 3 times. Come home Friday, he wanted to go look at a car. We looked at one of the cars. It was a black one. It was a pretty cool car. It came from Canada. That was interesting. That was no go though. But then he finds the car that he has now, and this is the car he decided that's the car he wanted. I mean, both our sons basically, they had their own money. I mean, we helped them out as much as we could, but we're definitely not a rich family. I mean, these kids pretty much made their own way. I mean, we helped them. We give them support them. I mean, don't get me wrong, so at 16, he buys this Camaro, 95 Camaro, started racing it, going to all the car meets and stuff like that. And it wasn't long until, it just wasn't fast enough. So he finds a motor in Ohio. The motor, high performance, good heads, good cam, all upgrade from what he had. He works hard over the summertime, has overtime, saves up, goes out to Ohio, looks at this motor or takes the car for a ride because the motor was still in the car. Of course, he falls in love with the power. So he comes back 15 minutes later. He's calling the guy up saying he'll be out next week. My first instinct is to say, hey, save your money. This isn't a good gamble. You don't know who put the motor together. You don't know how good it is. But he was so insistent on buying this motor, and I did not want to take the spirit out of him. It's one thing trying to guide your kid and you help him, and of course you don't want nothing to happen to him or hurt him or him lose his money. But also at the same time, okay, worst thing that happened, he loses some money, he learns a lesson. Okay, so I didn't want to break him. I didn't want to pull the spirit out of him. He was too crazy about this. So he gets the motor. It turned out to be a really good motor. It's still in his car, and also after that it snowballed. Now he has a Ford 9-inch rear in it. He races it from time to time. He works on it a lot. It's a cool car. He just bought a different Sunoco hood on it. And also, he's the one who really kind of got me back in the car culture, or actually in the car culture, or car scene, however you want to say it. And that's a whole nother story. But for right now, we're just talking about my son Josh. I just a little background also. I have two boys, Josh and Connor. Josh is the one I'm interviewing today. Connor, he loves cars too. He loves drag races and everything else. And he knows what's cool. He's just not so immersed into the car culture. Some people love it, some people don't. I think you got to have it in your heart. And my youngest son, he loves it too. But this episode is going to be about my oldest. I'm interested in interviewing him and hearing his point of view on it. This should be fun. Okay, I hope you enjoy it. Hey everyone, this is my son Josh.
Hi, how's it going?
You heard me speak about his journey through the car culture, but I want to kind of try to get his take on it. I was talking to him before we started filming. We got some things started, but we only dove in a little bit. I told everybody, I think it was around 12 or 13 is when you got really immersed in the cars. I mean, you were schooling me. Do you remember, I didn't even know what an LS. You started explaining to me what an LS was. What was that car? Was it a Pontiac or something?
A GTO.
GTO. Yeah, a GTO. And it's like, that has an LS. It's like, what the hell's an LS? He's like, Dad, that's a small block Chevy. That's the new performance. I knew nothing about it. So he started schooling me on this. At that time, did you have a love of Camaros at that time or not?
I did. I started to love Camaros when I was young.
Okay, that's right. But you wanted like the first generation.
Yes.
And we didn't have the money for that, right?
Right.
Right. And then we went even every generation. And then all of a sudden, you picked out the fourth generation, which up until, and then since you picked it, I fell in love with these cars. I personally, I love his car. It's a favorite of mine. For one thing, it's his, and he put all the work into it. Now, first thing, you raced this. You raced it when it was just plain Jane, just the regular.
Yes, when it was stock.
Yeah, and what? You turned 14 with it or something?
The best when it was stock was 14.9.
14.9. And I hope you can dig up the videos of this. That stuff was, you look back at some of that stuff. So he's racing down Maple Grove. I have nothing at this time. And I'm just like, now my wheels are starting to spin. And it's like, okay, this could really be cool and fun. Plus, gives me a reason to buy a car too. It's like, oh, I want to race with my son. Of course, come on, Mom, buy Dad a car. No, I'm just kind of joking about that. So you start racing, then you raced like once, and then all of a sudden you had the bug, right?
Yeah, once you race once, it's kind of in your blood then.
Okay, so then that's when you started looking for the motor, right?
Yes.
And you just found out randomly?
Yes, just on a forum on Facebook.
Okay, that was in Ohio, right?
Yes.
You took a trip out there, and that was in a car, right?
Yeah, it was in a 95 Firebird.
Okay. He took you for a ride in that, right?
Yep.
What, he said that if you decided to buy it, you could have it out in like 24 hours or something?
Yeah, you can have it on 24 hours.
Yeah, these guys are wrenchers, right? They wrenched. I mean, they were not...
That's all they do.
That's all they do is just wrench. So he comes home immediately, like, I think you're home about 15 minutes, and you're calling him up, telling him that you want that motor.
Yeah, I think it was on the way home, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're telling me you want to... And at that time, I talked to a couple friends of mine, because you know all my friends, and basically they were telling them, well, tell Josh, you don't know what this motor's about. You don't know whoever built it, if they were skilled or whatever. And it's like, I come back, I said, well, so-and-so, I don't know if you should really buy that motor, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, too late for that. He wanted that motor bad. And I didn't want to squash his spirit. I mean, this kid was, he was head first into this car thing. And it's like he was so the worst thing could happen. He loses a few $1,000s. He buys this motor. Over a long time, he gets it put in, and then you went racing again, right?
Yes.
And then that was with the older end?
Yeah, I sold the stocker end and I went with street tires.
With street tires, okay. And do you remember what kind of times you turned in?
I think it was a 13.5 or 9.
That's what it was. That was what it was. And now, at that time, this is it.
Yeah.
This is on.
I was limited by the tires at that time.
Yeah, limited by the tires. You couldn't really put any type of slicks on, DOT slicks, whatever, because you're gonna pull the rear end's gonna go. So next thing you know, 4 9-inch rear comes. Now this past season, he went racing, and by that time I had my Vega. It was a hot day, and my Vega didn't want to start. Like I got in the staging lanes, it went burp, 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 and I didn't. And I was there for him to race, and I was there more for him. I didn't want him to have to babysit me, so I didn't race. I wussed out a little bit. I didn't have my crew, my guys there, so he raced. That's when he went to 1250, right?
Yeah.
And that was. And he has some video of inside, and you still have that, right?
I still have that video.
Okay, you gotta see that. That's some really good footage. And with vibration and stuff, but you just put the new hood on it. As you can see, it's a cool car. It is, I mean, whatever he does with it, whether he upgrades, he's talking about getting,
FRC Corvette. Yeah.
FRC Corvette. See, he's schooling me. He's still schooling me. But this car is always will be a piece of my soul, because this is your first car. I'd like to see you never get rid of it, because it is so cool. But you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta move on sometimes. Do you realize my '57 Chevy is going on 40 years since I had that car?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know. I mean, I know your soon-to-be wife. She likes your car, and hopefully you guys can get that car and a FRC fixed roof Corvette. But whatever happens, it is. But this is a cool car. He helped me get into the car culture. He schooled me on the new stuff. And of course, you met my friends. Well, not yet. You met some of my friends. No, you only met one of my friends. I'm sorry. But you'll meet my friend Moon, Mike, the guy that runs the Mustang 2. You'll meet him. You met Tommy DePaul. There's a lot of people in my life that are way into cars. But this is the kid who got my heart pumping again to get a car and go racing and street. This is a street car that he races. This isn't a full-blown race car. Although you still try to get the best times you can. Another moment in time I like to talk about is when you were 16 years old, okay? Now, I don't know if you can look back that far and see yourself as being a kid, or is that just a moment ago? But to me, you're a kid. I mean, you're just a kid. Now, 57 Chevy is not a small car, right? That thing was 3 in a tree,
Yes.
right? I'm just trying to demonstrate how much this kid was in the cars, because you realize I had this car close to 40 years now. Back then, 35 years, I had this car. It's a big old 3 on a tree, big boat of a car, great driver. And did I think anything of letting you drive that car?
No, you said take it.
Take it, Were you nervous driving it?
Yeah, a little bit, but I have drove it before. So.
Well, the thing is, man, I was talking on a video before, I had absolutely I didn't think twice about letting you drive it, because that's how much you were into cars. And what that means is that if an accident would have happened, it wouldn't have happened because of lack of experience or lack of love of the car, or it would have been a true accident where you love cars so much, like, okay, if anything's going to go wrong, it's going to be because of some type of
an actual accident.
Yeah. So I had that much confidence in you, and I still do to this day. There's a lot of things that you do with cars. Very proud of you guys. But I thank you for joining me tonight. I thank you very much, and we'll talk to you a little bit later in the episode. Okay, I'd like to try to start wrapping up this episode for this week. I really had a great time making it. I love talking to my son Josh. I also like to go over some things about me. I still consider myself, or I always will consider myself, being very blessed. I came back into the car culture, 50 plus years old. I'm surrounded by great friends. The Moon, his authority in all things cool and old school. Tommy DePaul, Pat Cronin. There's a lot of people that, it was a perfect storm for me to decide to get back in the car scene. And then all of a sudden, lickety split with help from, like the mastermind Moon. And then having my friends like Tommy and Paul execute the plans, as well as my wife and family. I mean, there's a, like I said, I'm blessed all the way around, and I couldn't be happier. In further episodes, I'm going to try to talk more about how I became engulfed in the cars at the age I'm at. There's some quick background. I had a '57 Chevy since I was 15. Just a little side note. But I'm going to hit on that in further episodes and tell you more about myself. I like to give a big thanks to a lot of people again. Now Erica, my future daughter-in-law, and my son's fiance, she edits all my ramblings, and she puts it together so it's coherent. I mean, otherwise it would just be a mess. I mean, I don't even understand what the hell I'm talking about. So she puts it together and makes it all work, and I couldn't be more thankful to her. And don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button. And again, I just want to thank everybody, friends, family. It's all great. Hope you guys enjoy helping me make this. And we'll see you next week.